Before we get into the subject of this here video, let me preface this by saying, be careful who you follow. Be careful who you're listening to, and be careful, especially if they are former Republicans. And especially if they're the type of men who can just be absorbed back into their party. Why am I saying this? Because there are a couple of creators on here who have blue checks and big names, and they have the nerve to actually correlate science, math, reasoning, and intuition as being blue Maga. Like they literally look at the math and science and go, yeah, that's just conspiracy. Blues, 4 a.m. clubbers, and just plain intelligent people, especially my neurodiverse people. Blue Maga? Really? How many things have we been right about so far? Go ahead, I'll wait. The missing minute on the tape? Turned out it's way more than that, didn't it? A certain name on a list? Appears he's kind of like a silent partner. Every voice not counted? Pretty sure Racklin proved that one. Even just missing 3 puts a whole lot of doubt on a whole lot of things. Blue Maga? Really? Last I checked, we're not climbing no ballast. Last I checked, we're not defecating on no walls. Last I checked, we're not using poles to take out eyes. Last I checked, we didn't take any French machinery to a political gathering. Last I checked, we haven't entered any politicians' homes and taken their breathing bodies. Last I checked, we haven't taken any cars and rammed them into the middle of protests. Last I checked, we haven't used any form of religion to dehumanize another human being. Last I checked, when we say we didn't vote for this, we actually mean it. So Blue Maga, really? And when I say these are some big names with some blue checks, they really are. And they're both male. And yeah. One has a big podcast, kind of like a network. Another one has some messy hair, and I think he has a law degree, I'm not sure. You know, I have 3 stories of lawyers who think that degree makes them better than everyone else. Men who don't look nothing like me. So let's get into the point of this video, shall we? Let's start with this very interesting article on the This Will Hold Substack. Go ahead, take a gander at what that there says. Oh, wait a minute. Were we correct? One more time before we get into some interesting things in this article. Now, real quick, if you want to read this entire article, because it is a lengthy one, this is their Substack. And let's start at the end of this article where it says, we have the authority and the obligation to remove this entire unelected, illegitimate regime. I want to start with what you can do. So you have the ETA, the CC campaign, and you have the Smart Ease as well. You got people that you can support in doing the harder work. Ooh, I just got to say this real quick. I told you so. We told you so. We told you so. So let's start with the facts, okay? This is a CIA person who's now an ex-CIA. He's now an informant. He's now a whistleblower. But in 2024, he was personally involved in the NSA authorized forensic audit of the 2024. And what we said is the truth. And not only is it the truth, he said by a wide margin. He missed an opportunity to say, homeboy lost bigly, because that's what I would have used. But this next part is the part that I had been feeling through this whole thing. Is like, on one hand, I felt like there's a reason why they didn't come out. Part of it was what he's going to say at the bottom, where he says these allied interests responsible for burying the audit. So the audit was buried. But I still do have intuitively this pull, this call to understand that it's because of this multiple layers of complexity to the cover up, including a transnational organized crime syndicate. Not a transnational. That junk say syndicates that go beyond the U.S. And I suspect it goes beyond a certain cold country. And they're saying it goes beyond our elections, because you see the next line where it says human trafficking sectors intersect with stolen. And while we're looking at that phrase about stolen, blue magas? Really? I think at this point we now know that any accusation is a confession with this group. So if he's going to say that it was stolen, what do you think he attempted to do? Seriously, if he's going to accuse us of having stolen it, what do you think he actually attempted to do? And what do you think they're actually working to do next year? And why do you think Miami is not doing theirs this November? How do we fix that? I am so passionate about this because one thing, especially as a neurodiverse person, but especially as a person with a genius IQ, to the point where I was supposed to skip a number of grades, but my mother said no, to the point that I was the number one on a state assessment, even in middle school. So I'm far from stupid. I just did not get a law degree. It's utterly frustrating to be right and to be constantly accused of being wrong. Blue MAGA? Really? Like, what I am going to do, probably, to those big name people, is call their asses out when this is fully done. Because you know who you should not be listening to? A former Republican, who is only not one, simply because of the Orange Man, but not all the other corrupt things that they had been doing. Let's get back to this article, though, because it's not just about this last fight. Oh, yes, millennials and baby Gen Z, whose first election was a hanging Chad election. It goes all the way back to that. All right, so first of all, he says this needs to be our top priority. And if you listen to Lotus's video or read her little paper, I think she's making it her top priority. Here are a few interesting things that I highlighted, especially that part that's underlined. Not bound by the same playbook. Okay, so back to this. Now, this part gets interesting because we learned about this with Rockland. Now, if we look at this bottom part, we're talking about an unlocked back door. You know who also did those? Doge. All right, so check this out. You see that little interesting name, Pro V and V? Does anybody remember who they are? Interestingly enough, Pro V and V now runs 70%. They certify 70% of the U.S.'s machines. But this is a company started by someone who lost the ability to do that with his former business. And if you remember, the article said that there was something about them calling their changes back in August de minimis. But guess what de minimis meant? It was literally a code, a hash. Now this gets really technical. To make it short, the hash says, don't check this file anymore. In other words, they can make changes without triggering any security warning. Now they do have information about how this was a long game play by these people, going back to the hanging chat days. I'm not going to go through all of these, but that was all a setup too. And by the way, y'all, get this shared, okay? 1, I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers, and 2, I get suppressed a lot. You need to check out this article for yourself. Again, this will hold Substack, but remember, y'all, we were right. The blue MAGA.